Good morning. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Andrea, and today I want to talk to you about a question that I got on my YouTube channel that I thought was really, really good, and it was something that I had not really addressed before. And her question is, do you feel like it's hard to fit all of these things in? We're still using Memoria Press, and I've realized that I do enjoy a lot of the material we are using, but not how Memoria Press says to do them, and definitely not according to the schedule. And I can totally see how maybe if you weren't familiar with the Charlotte Mason method or Ambleside Online, that when I'm going through and talking about my upcoming plans, it might seem like a lot, and you might just think that I'm crazy for putting all of these things into, our plans for the second and the fourth grade. And so that's why I thought it was a very good question that needed some more explanation. So I totally agree. When I was doing just a complete Memoria Press curriculum last year, it would take a long time to get through each lesson. Anytime my son was doing a reading out of Farmer Boy or Charlotte's Web or something like that, it wasn't just the reading. There was the reading, there was the filling out of the worksheets, and so it would take a long time. And then the same with really every subject. It would just, there was a lot of activity, a lot of, there's the math lesson, and then the speed drill, and then the practice sheet. So I will say that sometimes one of the things that we just constantly need to remind ourselves about is the fact that we are free and we are homeschoolers. And that's why I really get a lot out of reading Charlotte Mason's work, is because I just feel so empowered by what she says. It has such good, concrete advice on how to run a homeschool. And so one of the things that she stresses is the focus on attention, and how you do that is to have one of the ways on how you get your kids to develop a good sense of attention is to have your lessons not lasting more than 20 minutes at all, especially for kids 8 and under, I believe. But honestly, if you ask me, I have a hard time focusing on something for more than 20 minutes at a time. So I think that it's a really good habit for me that I've kind of struggled with, but I'm getting better and better at it, is to make sure that anything that we do, it's not going to last longer than 20 minutes. And a lot of the things that we do last 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And so I was just going to talk a case in point about our homeschool day yesterday. So today is Saturday. Yesterday's Friday. I do try to kind of keep Fridays a little bit looser than normal days. For one, just in case we need to catch up on stuff. And also just to, not focus so much on getting through all of our lessons, but to schedule in time to have fun. But yesterday, if I'm talking about my daughter, so all of her stuff that she can do a lot on her own, I schedule out for her on her clipboard. And yesterday, we were done by 11 a.m. and she got started around 9. And she got through her cursive, her math, her recitation, her phonics, and her reading. And I also did two readings to her off of the Ambleside Online list. And we did our Bible study. I mean, we got through a lot of stuff in 2 hours. And then we had the rest of the day to enjoy. And it was a beautiful day. We went to a local, that you live out in the country when it's like a big deal that we go into town. So we went into town and we went to this thrift store that I had only been to once, and I thought it was amazing. And so this time I took my kids there and they had a blast. And stay to the end, I'll show you what I got thrifting. In England, it's wild, the different types of stuff that you can find here. So anyway, so we went thrifting, we had a lunch out, we went to a park, we came back, we did some painting with watercolor. It was such a wonderful day, and yet we still got through a lot of quote unquote lessons. I will say with the Charlotte Mason method, if you're coming out of something like how I was with coming out of like maybe a full Memoria Press curriculum or really anything else, I think where there's the biggest change is just you really don't need to feel like you need to justify your existence by having a physical something that they completed today. I mean, the beauty of, let's say, narration, especially oral narration with younger kids that are third, second, first grade, kindergarten, they don't have to write out their narrations. A lot of them might, just because it's kind of a natural thing to do sometimes, just based on what your strengths are. Behind me right here is a narration that my daughter did yesterday on the whiteboard. She was just drawing what I was talking about. We read a story out of Just So Stories about how the leopard got his spots. Anyway, she was just drawing a picture of it while I was reading it to her. And when she explained to me what her picture was, I was like, yep, you were definitely listening to the story. But that's going to get erased and it's gone forever. She didn't need to fill out a worksheet and answer comprehension questions and things like that. So that's why it can go a lot quicker. And also, go back to, I'm sorry, it is early in the morning, so if my thoughts are jumbled, I apologize for that. But going back to what I said earlier about shorter lessons help to create this better sense of attention for the kids when you keep things short and interesting. It's really easy to get bored and to not focus and to even frankly start to act up if something is just taking a long time as you see it. It's boring, you're not interested in it anymore. So if you could just keep things as short as possible, you're less likely to get that boredom interruption, to have thoughts wander. And so I like to keep things super short, moving at a good rate, because if you kind of change things up, they don't have that chance to start to dread something. However, I will say the order that you do things in is important as well. If you read Charlotte Mason, she recommends kind of using your next task as a break. So if we had just done a reading where there needed to be some kind of narration and some real clear focus on what we were doing, maybe the next thing that you do is work on handwriting, because you don't really need to think about it so much. You're doing something more physical. Maybe after that you do something like math. And then also, I have gotten a question before on, since I teach both Spanish and Latin to my son, how do you do that without them getting mixed up? Well, you just place those lessons at opposite ends of the schedule. He might do something in the morning and then do Spanish and then do a couple of other things and then do Latin. They don't kind of get their wires crossed that way. So you just kind of have to think about it. And that's also why I really don't plan their day more than a day in advance. I do have an organization system in mind on things that I know that I want to get through before, this date on the calendar, let's just say. And so I work my way towards that goal. But when it comes to what they're doing on a daily basis, I put a list out for them so that they can kind of see the order on how to do things and how much they have to do and how much time that would probably take them. Also, there are a lot of, let's say, subjects that we do that are not necessarily an everyday thing. Some things you do once a week, and some things you just do 3 times a week. I don't know. The math that I have for them this year, it's technically a 4-day-a-week program, which I kind of like the sound of that. But anyway, there's just, you are in control as the homeschool parent. I would just encourage you to maybe think of creative ways to keep the lessons short and sweet. That was, like I said, it was something that I really struggle with and continue to struggle with. But if you think about it, you really want to try to train their minds to be able to concentrate for 20 minutes. So start with 10 minutes. If we can get through this 10-minute lesson and you really focus and you really concentrate, you're going to have more time to go do the things that you want to do. You can go play in the backyard or go jump on the trampoline or whatever. That's what we say. There's a natural reward to being able to focus on something without veering your attention into different areas. And you can set your child up for success if you don't make that too long of a chunk of time. I'll also use things like timers, like I said, the natural rewards on being able to play outside instead of staying here for another 10 minutes because you weren't focusing on what you were doing, really kind of keeping things lively. I'm also kind of experimenting this year with, even within the same subject, not doing the exact same thing every day. And what I mean by that is, like with Spanish and Latin, usually I would kind of just do one thing, like, oh, well, we're doing just this curriculum or we're doing just this program to learn a language. And even if they like it at first, I would notice that then after time, they'd be like, oh, I don't want to do that, because they know exactly what it's going to be. It's the same thing every time. So this year, I'm really starting to experiment with a couple of different curriculums almost at the same level that we kind of intersperse throughout, and I kind of use pieces here and pieces here just to keep things interesting and like you never know what you're going to get. So I don't know. I'm working with that. I'm going to see how that goes, and I'll let you know. I wanted to do that especially with language learning, because that one can get stale quick. I think that that's kind of what kills it for a lot of people when they try to acquire a new language, is that it just starts to get so boring, and it is hard to focus your attention on something like that. That's very difficult and new for you to grasp. So I hope that that makes sense. I do also want to address the fact that I really appreciate comments on the YouTube channel, and I read them and I love them. I am at such a different timetable here that I'm nervous when I see them. Sometimes I don't comment back because I don't know if you might get a ding or a notification on your phone that I've commented back. And so sometimes I just know that there's such an extreme time difference. I'm not sure if I should, because I don't want to wake you up or whatever. So I don't know if that's a thing. Like, I don't have any notifications on my phone that ding. But I have that set on purpose because we so often live in a different time zone than like the rest of my country of origin. Anyway, sometimes I'll only comment if I look at my clock and I see that probably most people are awake in the United States. I don't know, that might just be my Midwesternness coming out, where I'm afraid to do anything that might annoy somebody. So I just wanted to say that I love the comments, and I really encourage you that if you have any questions, to leave a comment below. I will probably answer it eventually if I get to it at a time where I'm like, okay, this is a good time to answer some comments. So I need to figure myself out in that regard. There's that. Also, do you want to see what I got thrifting yesterday? This thrift store in England was huge, and we got some really cool stuff. I'm just going to show you. I might just talk through it. So one of the first things that we found when we first walked in was we go in and we find this great display of Beatrix Potter stuff. So I picked up this mug that has a Peter Rabbit on it. I think it's really actually only just from the 90s when I looked it up when I got home, but it's very cute, and I'm always trying to find little cute things like that for my kids to drink their hot cocoa and tea out of and stuff like that. So that was a good find. Let's see. I'm also always on the hunt for some fun teacups, and what I really like to find at thrift shops are teacups that are from coronations or jubilees from previous monarchs, because they would make these souvenir teacup sets about with the monarch's face on it for, weddings and coronations and stuff like that. And I just think that they're so fun. So yesterday I found a Jubilee teacup set from Queen Victoria. It's from the 1800s, and it's super old, but it was in great condition. So I got that to add to my collection of, I believe, a silver Jubilee teacup set from Queen Elizabeth. And then I also have a royal wedding teacup set from Prince Charles and Princess Diana. So I love those. So I have that now. I also got a teapot that was an Alice in Wonderland teapot. And we found a complete box set of original Beatrix Potter books. It's the cutest little box that opens up, and it has 10 of the original small Beatrix Potter books in there. And so I instantly came home and got rid of, I had a big book that was like the collection series of all the Beatrix Potter stories, and I already gave that to my neighbor because I love the small books. If your kids are like mine, they just gravitate to smaller books that fit in their hands. And I know it was a quote from Beatrix Potter, I believe, that when she was going to publish her books, she insisted that the size of the book be small because she said small books for small hands. I just think that that is so brilliant, and it is true. The kids are always attracted to miniature-sized things, and it does feel nice to have this little book in your hand. So I was super happy to finally find at a great price. I think that the whole box set is 25 pounds. So got a whole bunch of stuff that the total amount, I think I spent 75 pounds, which is basically like $100. And we were there for an hour, killing time. And then we went out to lunch and went out to a park that was in a nearby neighborhood where we were, and met the friendliest little cat. Anyway, it was just a wonderful day. And sometimes I have to remind myself on how much I love homeschooling for the schedule, for the time that I get to spend with my kids, whereas otherwise they would just be in a school and I'd be spending my day by myself or doing something else. They really were just great company and we had a wonderful time. And having the short lessons, I really do think that the Charlotte Mason method of education is really opening up my eyes to more things I can teach my kids that I didn't think about before, such as attention and even things out in nature that I really hadn't thought about before. So I really do encourage you, if you haven't read her stuff before, to pick up Home Education is a good one to get started on. I'm into, Parents and Children. And I heard, so that's the first 2 books that I'm basically finished with the second one. And I heard that actually, so there's a 6-series set of Charlotte Mason books. So I have the whole set and I've kind of just been working my way through them as well as reading other things about Charlotte Mason in the meantime. But I heard maybe that my next choice to read should be the 6th volume in her set, because that's just about the whole educational philosophy in general. So I might read that. And I have, next up is Consider This by Karen Glass. I love reading Karen Glass because she breaks down Charlotte Mason's methods so well in such digestible chunks that, I can get through one of her books very quickly. I read Know and Tell, all about narration, and it was wonderful. So I'll put links to those books down below if you have an interest. I'm looking to see if there are any other questions that could be addressed in the same way. I think that that's it for here. I'll make another video where I'm answering some more questions that people leave on my YouTube channel that I think would be really helpful for other people to understand. When I saw that question about, are you worried that this is going to be too much? I'm like, oh gosh, no. However, I can see where you might think that or where it looks like that. So anyway, just thanks so much for the wonderful comment and question. And I hope that this was helpful. And I hope you have a wonderful day. I'll see you in the next video. Bye. Look at this.
What is that? Bunyan's Pilgrim's Progress.